If an injured service member puts their mind to something, it's gonna get done, one way or another. Well, I decided to go in the Marine Corps because I absolutely hated school. I almost failed out of school, actually, and wanted to serve the country in the Marine Corps because I'm 5th generation Underwood Marine, so figured not really any other choices for me, so I went to the Marine Corps. I was actually pretty motivated to go fight in the war. I actually had to fight to get an infantry MOS in the Marine Corps when I enlisted because they originally gave me motor T, and I told them I'd find a way to get kicked out if they didn't switch my contract to infantry before I shipped to boot camp, and obviously I got infantry. Basic training went by really quick. Really don't remember much of it. Just a lot of yelling, screaming, no sleeping, and physical exercise for 13 weeks. After boot camp, I went to SOI, School of Infantry, for 8 weeks. The first 4 weeks, they train you to be a basic 0311 grunt. And then after that 4 weeks, they have the MOS split, where you continue to be an 0311 basic rifleman. You go to be a mortarman, machine gunner, or an 0352 anti-armor guided missileman, and that's what I was. And I went to that training for the last 4 weeks. I learned how to operate the Sabre system, which shoots missiles off the tops of Humvees, and I learned to shoot the Javelin off the Clue system, which is, you carry it. After SOI, I was sent to, SOI was Camp Geiger, North Carolina, and that's basically the southern part of Camp Lejeune, North Carolina, and my unit was 3rd Battalion, 9th Marine Regiment, and they're actually, they cased their battalion flag, meaning they basically tore down my battalion because the war is ending. 3-9s only stood up in a time of war. When I was stationed in Camp Lejeune, when I got to my unit, they had already started their workup for Afghanistan, which is just pre-deployment training. So we went to AP Hill, Virginia for, I want to say 6 weeks. After that, we went and did our desert warfare training at 29 Palms, California. That was 2 months of hell in the desert. Came home, had a week of pre-deployment leave, so I went back to Michigan, got married, flew back down to, or actually drove back down to North Carolina, put my truck in storage, then shipped out to Afghanistan. Wasn't really scared, guess a little nervous because I wasn't quite sure what to expect when I'd get there, but mostly just excited to get there and do what I've been trained to do for a year. When I eventually got to Afghanistan, we were at Camp Dwyer for a couple days, and then a helicopter came and picked us up from Dwyer, flew us to our area of operation, which was Marja. And then when we got to FOB Marja, we waited for the squad that we were leaving to come pick us up, and the vehicles drove us to the patrol base. Went from there. Afghanistan is an absolute barren wasteland. Nothing's there, especially in the Helmand province where I was. All desert. People there live in the Stone Age, basically, all mud huts, and they have these wadis, which are basically farm ditches, and they use it for irrigating the little crops they do have, for their water, and also for their sewage. It's pretty disgusting. This is a nasty country, nasty country. The food is actually not half bad when you have to eat nothing but MREs, like nothing but MREs, and the little stuff you get in care packages. We actually used to have our interpreter go talk to the guys that would meet them at the gate of our patrol base, give them a couple bucks, and they'd go and get us a kebab, which is some sort of meat, can be cow, goat, whatever, seasoned, wrapped in flatbread, and it was better than an MRE, so we ate it. I didn't make any friends while I was there. Everyone that I was there with from my unit, they were already my brothers from so much training, basically living with the same men for a year. So we know how each other operates. They can put us in specific jobs and so on and so forth. Like my job, I was a dismount saw gunner in the lead vehicle. And in the vehicle, there's multiple jobs. There's the driver, the gunner, the guy that stands up in the turret, shoots heavy gun. And then you have the vehicle commander. He's in charge of everyone in the vehicle. And then you have dismounts in the back seat. And dismount's job is when they think there's a bomb in the road, dismounts get out with a metal detector and sweep the road, or if they start getting shot at, dismounts get out and go shoot back. So you leave your couple inches of solid steel protection behind. There wasn't really any such thing as a typical day, because I was in 39, I was in weapons company. In that weapons company, I was in the CAT platoon, which is combined anti-armor team, which is vehicle mounted infantry, which means they broke us up into 4 squads, 4 trucks per squad. My squad got sent to support Lima company, so the only person I ever had to answer to was my sergeant, who was the vehicle commander, Sean Callahan, or my squad leader, Sergeant Carney. And basically we were always on QRF, quick reaction force, so if something happened somewhere, anytime, no matter what, we had to get on the trucks and go take care of it. And we always went out doing different reconnaissance missions, clearing out new areas. I really don't even know. They had us running everywhere. Yeah. There'd be days we'd go without getting shot at. There'd be a week at a time we would go without getting shot at, and then sometimes we'd get shot at every day or every week or whatever. You get used to it. Your training kicks in and take it as it comes. The day I was injured, we were preparing to go on an operation to clear out east of Marja, because that's where the Taliban pushed and formed a stronghold after the initial push through Marja. And head outside the wire, 2 squads of engineers actually swept the road before we went down it. But those IEDs are made of such little metal, it's virtually impossible to pick them up with any kind of metal detecting material. So they have these big radar machines on the fronts of vehicles, but they're far and few in between, and it takes way too long to sweep a road with that thing. So they passed right over the IED we ended up hitting, and we hit the IED. It was a 160-pound force. It was only 80 pounds of explosives, but we were dragging the belly of our vehicle, so it was direct contact, which means there was no airspace for any give or anything like that, so they rated it at 160. And got blown up. I was knocked out immediately, as well as the driver. The gunner, Casimir, he got blown completely out of the vehicle. The entire turret gun, everything went with him. When they found him, his heels were actually touching the back of his head. His legs were completely shattered from the hip down. They wanted to amputate both his legs at the hip since day one, but he's, for lack of a better word, crazy, and wouldn't let him do it. and he's actually proved him wrong, and he's walking with a walker now. The driver, when he got blown up, he broke his back really bad, and at first he was paralyzed from the waist down. They told him he'd never walk again. Well, he started getting movement back in his legs and everything like that, and he's walking with almost no support whatsoever now. So, and then unfortunately, our vehicle commander, Sean Callahan, and the other dismount, Dominic Shiramataro, they were both killed on impact. That was probably the hardest part of that day. My gunner got really messed up, driver got really messed up. All three of us suffered brain injuries. All three of us had a ruptured spleen, so we were all bleeding out internally that they ended up having to remove. And then myself, I shattered the last three vertebrae in my spine, which are now supported with titanium pins and plates. Snapped both femurs out of my thighs that are now supported with titanium rods, and blew off my right foot. My brain injuries were, for lack of better words, worse than everyone else's, because I had an initial brain injury from the force of the blast, and the second was caused from a big metal computer screen in the front seat called the Blue Force Tracker. It's surrounded by about an inch and a half solid jagged steel. When we got blown up, it blew off its mount, flew in the back seat, and hit me in the head. So I was extremely out of it. I actually have no memory of from the time I got blown up till about 6 months afterwards. Basically everything I tell people about that 6-month period I have no memory of is just what other people have told me. 'Cause I was pretty rough shape when I got blown up. They actually kept me medically induced in a coma for almost a week. My foot wasn't completely gone, half of it was gone, and because I was so messed up from the brain injuries and being on such heavy narcotic pain medication, I couldn't give them permission to amputate or anything like that. And then on top of that, no one in my family wanted to sign for me to get an amputation. That's pretty messed up, just signing for someone else's body part to get hacked off. So I actually had to wait until I was cleared by the doctors mentally, which was about 6 months, a little over 6 months. And once I was cleared, I was able to talk to the doctors about my foot and everything like that, and that's when I signed for them to take it. Prosthetics, great. With my prosthetics, I got one for weightlifting, one for cross training, one for running, and one for swimming, to where before I got the amputation, they told me I would never walk without a cane or crutches ever again, unless I got the amputation. And now I'm doing all this stuff, so it's kind of worth it. I was initially blown up April 23rd, 2011, and then for 3 months from the time I got blown up, for the next 3 months, I was inpatient at the hospital. For the first month and a half, I got the majority of my surgeries done at Bethesda Naval Hospital, and that's what that whole period was. Basically them putting me together and stabilizing me. Once I was stabilized and ready to go, they sent me to Richmond, VA, because there's a Marine liaison there, and that's where I perform the majority of my physical therapy and occupational therapy, just learning how to live with all my injuries and trying to basically rebuild strength. I'm sure you can imagine laying in a hospital bed and not being able to move for months. You lose every bit of muscle you had. So they were initially rebuilding strength, and then I came home after that 3-month period. I was an outpatient at the Detroit VA, did physical therapy there every day. I was done with my occupational therapy because the doctor basically said, you can wipe your own ass, you're good. So I did physical therapy through the Detroit VA. Again, still just rebuilding strength, rebuilding strength, rebuilding strength. And then the December following me getting blown up is when I got my amputation. After my amputation, I got my prosthetic in February of 2012. And then once I got my prosthetic, I pretty much trained myself how to walk with the prosthetic. I didn't want to go through physical therapy because I was sick and tired of it after so long. So learned how to walk again. I'm still learning how to run again. Still have a lot of problems I'm still trying to work out. Like, they still want me in physical therapy for my back, but I told them I don't have time. I got 2 kids and a full-time college student who don't want to be doing that too. And then on top of that, I have bone fragments in my knee from my femur snapping. So I need to get bone fragments removed out of my knee, which VA medical part kind of screwed me on, because back in February, they did the surgery to get the bone fragments, said they got them all. And then I started having recurring problems to where the bone fragments caused my knee to lock up and then dislocate, and that happens constantly. So started getting the problems again, went back to the Detroit VA, told them about it, and they, for lack of better words, called me a liar. Said I was basically hallucinating. There were no bone fragments, even though I'd see them surface on my skin. I'd push it back down to the joint. So after threatening to beat the shit out of my surgeon, they ordered an MRI for me. I went and got an MRI, and lo and behold, there's 3 bone fragments still in my knee. So I'm waiting until next month I can get in and meet with them again just to schedule my surgery, and then wait probably another month or 2 before I finally get the surgery. And I've had over 40 surgeries already. My body got really messed up. So it's not necessarily my body, but basically it takes its toll on your mind when you constantly have to keep rebuilding, just get knocked back down. But luckily, my wife and my family have been there supporting me through everything remarkably, and they were able to keep me out of that. So I have them to thank for that, because I'm sure if they weren't there, I would have just absolutely collapsed. I seen a PTSD doctor at the Ann Arbor VA for PTSD and anger issues, and she helped me realize jail's not worth beating the hell out of my surgeon. So that helped me. And then I was able to luckily develop an attitude where I just said screw it to everything, because yeah, this happened, but oh well, we gotta work past it. I mean, if I just lay down, it's not gonna hurt only me, that's gonna hurt me, my kids, my wife, it's gonna hurt everyone. I have no regrets. I'd do it all over again. My life wouldn't have ended up the way it is now, because if I wouldn't have gone in, I would have gotten some crummy job or eventually gotten to a community college and then have to struggle through all that and everything like that, which means I never would have married my wife, which in turn means I wouldn't have my 2 kids I have now. The other 2 guys that got wounded, I haven't heard from in a really long time. When they got blown up, they kind of shut down, cut themselves off from everyone. But a bunch of my other buddies from my platoon, I talk to almost on a daily basis. And most of us are out of the Marine Corps now, so. And now full-time student at Schoolcraft College, working on my biomedical engineering degree. Got 2 kids, like to raise hell at home. And then my yard is a 2.5 acre yard, so that keeps me pretty busy in my spare time whenever I get bored and don't have anything to do. Don't treat them different, like act like they're an oddball and out of place, that's wrong. You're just gonna piss them off. Second, don't approach them and ask stupid ass questions, because I've actually had someone who was actually an older man, probably in his 60s or 70s, so I figured he was bright enough not to ask it, but he asked me how many people I killed while I was in Afghanistan, and that caused me to have one of my anger episodes and threatened to beat the hell out of a 70-year-old man. And third, don't ever underestimate someone that gets wounded in combat or has PTSD and they're suffering from those disabilities. Because from my stories of how much I've overcome from my injuries, how much my buddies have overcome from their injuries, it just goes to show if an injured service member puts their mind to something, it's gonna get done, one way or another. Obviously, you know, whether the person's injured or not, show them all the same amount of respect, because the difference between me, one of my buddies that was there with me, is I got unlucky. That's it. Other than that, he did the same exact stuff I did. It's just I happened to be at the wrong place at the wrong time. So don't treat me like I'm some sort of hero if you're not going to treat him like he's some sort of hero. Because there's absolutely no difference between the two. And like I said again, just try not to treat a wounded veteran different, like he's an oddball or anything like that. Or, I don't know, one example, I find it funny all the time because this actually happens quite a bit, is I'll be in the store shopping or whatever in shorts, so my prosthetic shows, and there will be a lady with a really little kid, probably like 3 or 4, and the kid stops in the middle of the store, points right to my leg and goes, "Mommy, look!" and screams at the top of her lungs, and the mother freaks out like it's some horrible thing not to do and whatever. If a kid does that, obviously, you know, you can apologize and everything like that, but don't punish your damn kid, because then he's going to think there's something bad connected with that. Because I just look at the kids and I laugh. They don't know any better, and if you make them feel uncomfortable about it, that's just the way they're going to be raised, feel uncomfortable about something like that. So then they're going to treat a disabled person differently. I've had a couple kids actually ask me what happened, and I looked at them and I'm like, "Big bomb." I make it a joke for the kids so that way they're more comfortable with it, so that way they don't treat me or any other disabled person any different than anyone else. If they want to join now, I just tell them, bust your ass, stick with it, and it'll pay off as long as you don't become, again, for lack of better words, a shitbag. Because there's shitbags in the military, and there always has and always will be. But if you truly try your best and give it everything you got, the military will give you quite a bit back.